Okay, so we're going to talk about the one secret MacBook setting that unlocks the full power of your MacBook, and I get it. You probably think that you know all the settings on your MacBook, but trust me, there's this one setting that if you don't change, you're really leaving power on the table. Now, in order to find this setting, we're going to go into our system preferences, and then we're going to go to our battery. Now from here, you can see we have a bunch of different options. So we have our battery showing up over here. You can change the battery. We can charge to 100%. Well, actually, let's click on this and show you why this is the secret setting that unlocks the power on your Mac. So, by default, when you buy a new MacBook, this is set to optimize battery life. What does that mean? Well, basically, when your MacBook gets to about 80% charge, it's not going to charge past 80%. Even if you unplug it at 80%, it's not going to charge past 80%. What does that mean for you? Well, basically that means that your MacBook is going to run slower because your MacBook has a certain amount of power. Your MacBook needs to have a minimum amount of power in order to run at maximum efficiency. And if it doesn't have enough power, well, basically, it's going to start slowing down. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to go ahead and change this setting from 80% to 90% or higher. Now, I like to set this to 100%. I want my MacBook to be able to run at maximum performance all the time. And the good news is that this does not damage your battery at all. In fact, modern MacBooks have something called a smart battery. Basically, it knows how to intelligently manage the charging of the battery, so it's not going to damage it. In fact, if you ever watch the battery icon in the menu bar, you can see that it actually fluctuates the amount of power being drawn from the charger. It goes up and down depending upon what your Mac is doing. Now, if you have a MacBook Pro, you have an active cooling system. And if you push your MacBook hard enough, you can actually hear the fan turn on. So what does this mean for you? Well, basically, when you're pushing your MacBook hard, it needs more power. And if you have this setting enabled, it will be able to draw more power from the charger in order to keep running at peak performance. Now, a lot of people say that they don't hear the fan on their MacBooks unless they're doing something really intensive. It's probably because they're not pushing their MacBooks hard enough. I mean, I can literally make the fan come on just by opening up a large spreadsheet in Numbers, especially if I start doing calculations. Or if I open up Pages and I start working on a document with a lot of images. I can definitely hear the fan come on. And that's because my MacBook is drawing more power in order to run those applications at peak performance. Now, some of you may be concerned about the battery life on your MacBook. If you set this to 100%, is it going to significantly reduce your battery life? Well, actually it's not. Remember, modern MacBooks have smart batteries. They know how to intelligently manage the charging of the battery. So, in most cases, you're only going to be able to squeeze out an extra hour or two by keeping your MacBook at 80% versus 90 or 100%. And I personally think it's worth it to have that extra performance. Plus, you can always plug in your MacBook when you need to squeeze out that extra battery life. Now, there are some rare exceptions where having your MacBook at 100% charge could potentially shorten the overall lifespan of your battery.
Ow.
But those are rare cases. For example, if you're using your MacBook in the middle of winter, and it gets extremely cold outside and you have your MacBook sitting at 100% charge, that could potentially affect the battery. But those are rare cases. The good news is that if you do have a modern MacBook, you should be fine. Now, obviously, this is not a setting that you need to change in order for your MacBook to work properly. This is a setting that if you leave it at 80%, you're leaving performance on the table. And again, if you ever want to see the power draw of your MacBook, just look at the battery icon in the menu bar. You can see that it's constantly changing depending upon what you're doing. So hopefully now you know how to get the absolute most performance out of your MacBook. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button below. I appreciate that. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or comments about this video. As always, I love reading your comments. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. I appreciate that. I will see you next time.